So last class we went over string interpolation, and we also did the RGBA background colors. Zoe, will you grab that door if you don't mind? So today we are going to continue with. Yeah, they changed the tables.
Special.
Yeah. So today we're going to continue with string interpolation some. We'll play with our friend Turpy. And we'll see if we can't make this, just kind of clean up the template. So we're going to jump over into template, template.js. Okay, and here we have that function that is the cell, and then we have this function over here that's row. You know what? We did a good job of naming this row template, right? So maybe we should call this cell template. I mean, it's a good name, and it's good to be consistent. So I'll refactor that. Do my refactor. Hope for the best. Let's save it and refresh over here. Make sure that nothing broke did. All right. So all is well. So we have our cell template and our row template. And in our row template, we just iterate through. Yes, ma'am.
Can I join?
Oh, I don't know. I felt so lifeless without Zoe, so we'll let you in. All right, so we have cell template and row template. What do you think maybe we should do next?
Put bacon in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that when in doubt, put bacon in it or on it, around it, under it, over it. That would be not a bad idea. Actually, it'd be kind of funny if you had like little bacon pieces and little egg pieces that were like fighting each other.
Just found this out. Font Awesome added a bacon icon.
Ah, there you go.
Finally added it.
Yeah. So, a whole breakfast theme would be pretty sweet. Maybe I'll do that next. All right. So, are you our observer?
Yes.
Welcome.
Are
Come
you
on
nervous?
in. No,
Oh,
not in the
good
least.
to be
Not in
here,
the least.
Katie.
This is Katie. All right. So we actually already started. And we actually share a common screen, so you'll see the same screen on all of the monitors. And this is actually being recorded, so the kids can go back and watch it
Okay.
after the fact. So, or really anybody if they wanted to audit the class. So let's see. A bacon or breakfast themed checkerboard would be pretty sweet. So if somebody wanted some extra credit, it might be forthcoming. Especially if you put syrup on it, but not on the bacon. Okay, syrup
Yeah.
cannot touch the bacon. All right, let's move along. So yes, we have cell template and row template. What's bigger than row? The board. Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if we had a board template? All right, so let's see if we can't build that today. Okay, so we're gonna have a function, and we're gonna call it board template. There we go. Function, if I can spell properly, board template. All right. Now, briefly, just describe in English somebody. What are we going to need to do with board template? And I'll help you guys out. I'll prompt you, because if we look at row template, okay, in row template, what we needed to do was loop through the numbers 1 through 8 and create cells for each of those numbers so that we had 8 cells in our row, right? That's what we did in row template, right? We looped through and we created 8 cells to make a row. So in board template, we might write a loop to loop through the numbers 1 through 8 and create a row for each one. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started with that and see how that works out. Hey, we've done something like this before, so let's copy it and see how that works. Okay, so this won't be row string, this will be board string. Board string. Okay, and this won't be cell number, this will be row number. Oops. Wow, what in the world? Let's try typing better there, Erskine. All right. So this will be row number. All right, so we start the loop with an index called row number, and that index is equal to 1. Okay, we're going to, our terminating condition will be when the index is, well, I'm sorry, it's better to think of this as the continuing condition. We will continue as long as row number is less than or equal to 8. Okay, so that means we'll stop when row number gets to 9. All right, and we will iterate by incrementing row number. All right, and then we will, and we need to call row template, not cell template. All right, row template, which does not actually take any, right now, doesn't take any parameters. All right, so let's call that. Over here we call row, we found row 1 and we added that to it. So let's be a little bit brazen and let's just take this whole thing, comment it out. Ooh, what a mess. Right? And we're going to say, hey, board container. We're going to run and we're going to set its HTML. Now, by the way, this is going to make an awful mess. Okay? So, but that's okay. We'll see the kind of mess that it makes, and we'll board container, and we want to run board template inside the board container. Does anybody have an idea of what kind of a mess this is going to make? Give me some predictions.
It may just print them all diagonally.
You might just print all this, like cells, like, yeah, might do that, absolutely. Okay.
Waffles might attack the bacon and eggs.
Waffles might attack the bacon and eggs. I'm a fan of waffles, though not as big a fan as I am of bacon. So let's give this a whirl and see what happens. That's interesting. Okay, not what I expected. Okay, but so let's take a look at our console and see what we got. Okay, uncaught board.html, board template is not defined in board.html. So let's take a look at what our problem is. So we have a div with a background. So board template is not defined. And why would that not be? We have template.js here. Here we have our function board template. And looks to me like it ought to work. Let's try. Maybe I typed it wrongish. Ah, there we go. That's more of what I was expecting. Yeah. Okay. Now, if we make this like that, okay. So basically, Jesse was actually exactly right. We have one long, it's wrapping because HTML wraps, but we have one long row. Okay. Why is that? Why do we have one long row? What are we missing? Take a look at what we did here. Here I said, go grab the div with ID row 1 and put this row template into it. Okay, but that div with ID of row 1 has now been commented out, right? So what we had done before was we just did the insides of the row, but not the delimiters, not the div that held the row together. Okay, not the divs that separated row 1 from row 2 or row 3. Okay, does that make sense? So when I commented those out, obviously that caused a problem. So so one of the things we need to do then is we need to put some boundaries around the row. Okay. Now we can do that in a couple of ways, in a couple of places. We could put it. We could do it right here. And actually, let me just go grab the HTML for that. All right. So board string get gets board string plus that, and then here board string gets board string, and then we just need to close the div off, right? All right, let's see how that looks. All right, that's something that looks significantly more like a checkerboard. Okay, but there's clearly still some issues. All right, and before we address the fact that we're not alternating, black and white, let's just speak to where I chose to delimit the row. Okay, so here inside a board template, right, I established the boundaries of each row, right? I could have also done the same thing essentially inside of row template. Here, let me comment that out. Here and here, right? So once I finish actually doing the loop, and of course I need to put these into a thing called row string, not board string. Okay, does that make sense? Rather than doing that inside of the board template function, I could, at the beginning of the row template function, I'd write the first line of the div, then I write the insides of the row, and then I write the closing part of the div. And let's see if that at least gives us the same ugly checker. Can you call that a checkerboard? Whatever. That thing. Yeah, stripe board. So it does give us the same behavior. Okay. Which do you think is better? Yes, Zoe, go ahead. Which one do you think is better?
What Hope said.
Oh, you agree with Hope? Okay, Hope. I didn't catch what you said. That was good, by the way, Zoe. You can't do it. It can only be done once. By the way, give him a bonus point because that was funny. All right. Hope, what do you think? Which is better, putting it inside a row template or putting it inside a board template? Inside a board template? Okay. And who agrees with Hope? Huh? Clearly Zoe does. Okay. Who thinks it's better inside row template?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. It's part of the row, so it makes more sense to me for it to be inside the row template. Okay. You can make a case either way. This is kind of like this is where we get into the art of software development. Okay. This is really style. Both of them function, right? Just like, if you're writing a persuasive essay, both of them might communicate the same points, right? But one of them just seems to be more persuasive than the other. And sometimes it's hard to make a clear distinction as to which is which. That's the art of it, okay? Now, since I'm the teacher, I'm right. So, no, that's not exactly the case. But since I am writing this, I get to make the decision as far as where I put it. If you want to do it differently and are willing to defend it, I'm totally okay with that. All right, so we'll put it there inside a row template. All right, because it has to do with the row. All right, so now we need to fix the fact that we have a striped checkerboard instead of a checkered checkerboard. What's our problem?
Besides the fact that it's striped.
Why is it striped? Yeah, Ava.
Not row 1, so you're not, because row 2 is different than row 1.
Yeah, row 2 is different from row 1. Which rows are like row 1? All the
opposites.
All the odd
Yeah,
rows.
that's
And which rows are not like row 1?
Even.
All the even rows. Have we already solved the even odd problem before?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Okay, we did that with the cells, right? Where we took the modulus of the index, and then we used that to make a decision as far as was this going to be a black cell or a white cell. Okay, so if we look at how we did that here, okay, we have, if the cell number is 2, or the cell number mod 2 is equal to 1, then it's not even number, and then we can say if it's even, do this, if it's odd, do that, right? Okay, so we need to do something similar with row template, which means the row template's going to need to know what its number is, and that's important too because the row template also needs to put an ID on the row so we can identify the row itself, which may or actually may not be necessary. It's hard to know at this point if we ever need to identify a row. Cells, yes, we're definitely going to need to identify cells, but maybe we need to identify a row, maybe not. But anyway, so let's do that. Let's take the row number as a parameter, and then let's go ahead and pass that in here. Okay. Now the fact that these are named the same thing is not significant. It's semantic, but not significant. Does that make sense? Okay. Semantic means it makes sense, right? It makes sense to name them the same thing because they're referring to the same thing. Significant or important or crucial, right? I could call one bacon and the other one eggs, and that's fine because this is the name of the variable inside of this method. Okay? This is the name of the variable inside of this method. Now, if I called one bacon and the other one eggs, it might be confusing, but it would still work. Okay? It's like, hey, give me a variable. I need a number. Don't worry. I don't care what you call it. I'm going to call it bacon. You could call it eggs. In this case, we'll both call it row number, so that so it's less confusing for the human that has to read this. The computer doesn't care. Does that make sense? Okay. I just want to make sure that you guys aren't thinking that by that the one references the other thing. Okay, or that matters because that can get confusing sometimes. All right, so we're passing in row number, and let's go ahead and just use our console, right, to communicate some things. Console.log. All right. Drawing. Actually, let's use our interpolators. Use Terpy. Drawing row number. Row num. All right. Let's just make sure that he's getting in there, right? Go away thing. Drawing row number 1. All right, cool, right? Looking good? All right. So now we jump in here. Now, if we inspect these rows, right, every one of them is going to have an ID of what? Yeah, row 1, row 1, row 1, yeah, right? There's a whole bunch of row 1s, right? So we want to use our string interpolation to use our row number right here, right? Row, except that I can't. Row num. All right, and let's see if refreshing the page makes that look more better. There we go, right? Rows are looking good? All right. So now we've got appropriate IDs. We do need to check to see if it's an even or odd row, okay? And then we need to make a decision about what do we start with based on even and odd. Now this is going to be a little bit more complicated, okay? Before we just said, is this an even cell or an odd cell? And then we're able to say we want this cell to be, white or black. Now the parity of the row is affecting the decision that we make about the cell. Yeah? Okay. And where is that decision actually made? Is it inside the row template?
The CSS, maybe.
The CSS? It's inside the cell template function, right? So look right here. Here is where we're actually saying this is a red cell. A red cell, we need to change that to white, yeah. This is a white cell or a black cell, right? Okay, and that's where we need to make the decision. When I'm drawing the cell, I need to know there, not inside of the row template, okay? So That's what. So all we really need to do inside row template is pass the row number along to the cell template and let the cell template make that decision. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Who am I losing? All right, all right. Whiteboard. Sorry for those of you guys that are watching on YouTube. All right. All right. Let's say that we take a terribly not useful whiteboard marker and find a more useful whiteboard marker. All right. So let's say that instead of functions, I have students. Zoe, Ava, and Hope. Okay? And I give Hope, because she's the oldest and probably the most responsible, I give her the responsibility of making decisions about the board. Right? Sorry, Zoe. And then I give Ava the responsibility of making decisions about the rows. Right? So that's Ava. Okay? And then I give Zoe the responsibility of making decisions about each of the cells. Right? You guys tracking? Okay. Now, who has to decide what color the cell is? Zoe does. Okay? Okay, so in that case, Zoe is our cell template function. Right? And it makes sense. We just need to give her the information that she needs to make a good decision about that. Okay? Yeah? You guys tracking? So even though Zoe is making the smallest decisions, she's actually making the most decisions. Kind of has a lot of power over what's going on. Right? Like the federal government. Right? You got the president up here, but then you've got all these people that are federal employees for like 20 years that are, and when I go to the DMV, it's not it's not like, President Trump that's really affecting what my experience is right there, right? It's the people that are making all those little decisions. But that's a side note, but it's funny how all the little things that we create, there are reflections of those, like in, throughout creation, okay? So all of these little guys get controlled by Zoe in this case. So we just need to pass the row number down, and then if Zoe knows what her cell number is and her row number, then she can decide what color she should be, right? Okay. So let's talk about that for a second, and I actually think the whiteboard is going to be a little bit helpful here. Okay. So what's the first color supposed to be? Is it white or
Black.
black? The first one's black.
No.
Really?
One.
For
Is
the
it?
for the
Yeah,
top
it's
row.
white.
Yeah, it's white.
One's white.
I don't know. Screen's frozen for me.
Doesn't really matter. We'll
The
say
left
one's
hand
white for
corner
now.
is always supposed to be black when you're playing.
It's white,
That's
yeah.
all I know.
Okay. So all right. So one's white. 1-2's black. So all right. So in this case, on row 1, all of the odd cells are white, correct? All right. And on row 2, that's flip-flopped, right? On row 2, all of the even cells are white. Well, that is not appropriate. And then on row 3, which cells are going to be white? Odd cells. Row 4, which ones will be white?
Even.
Even. Now, are we noticing a pattern? What's the pattern?
No.
The top one's even, the next one's.
Yep. On odd rows, odd cells are white. On even rows, even cells are white. Okay? That's a decision that is essentially a function. Okay? So when you guys are in algebra class, right? And you see this jazz right here, right? and you got like what is that? It's a parabola, right? And it's not just a parabola, but it's a quadratic, right? And you've got f of x is equal to x squared, right? Yeah?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, well that's what that is. What that is. F of x equals x squared. This is a function, right? That's what your algebra teacher calls them, right? Functions. Right? Okay. Well, do you know where we got the word function in computer science?
From math.
From math. Yeah. Because here's my input, x. Here's my output. Okay? Right? So my input is the x-axis, and my output is the y-axis. All right? And that's a function. Okay? Now, a function, now this is going to blow your mind, but in math even, functions can actually have two inputs.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna explode my mind.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
that's
so
dangerous.
you might want to cover your ears so that you don't make a mess. So you could have, in this case, f of row cell equals color. Yeah? Okay? And where this is the parity of each one. Okay, so if I have even, what do I got? Even means,
Evens
Even.
are white.
what's that?
First one's like
Even, well,
Second.
if my row is even and my cell is even, my color is, the answer is white or black.
Black.
white.
Yeah! Oh, if I try 2 times, I'm gonna get right once. Let's back up. On odd rows, the odd cells are white, and on even rows, the even cells are
Black.
right. So if they're the same, then I'm going to end up with white. If they're different, then I'm going to end up with black. Okay? So it's even easier than saying on the odd rows this and the even rows that. I can simply say if they have the same parity, it's white. If they have different parities, it's black. Okay? It's that easy. Okay? Now, it takes you a little while to think through that process. Once you get into this a little bit, okay, like at first you just brute force it. You just make it work. Okay? And then you look for patterns. You think, like what would make this a lot simpler? I just thought rather than actually coding this up 3 times, okay, that we talk through that. Okay? And you can kind of imagine that. But so you can go tell, who's your math teachers? Miss Cruz?
I am my own math teacher.
You are your own math teacher. You should tell your math teacher all about what you learned in web development. Okay? So
Maybe I'll tell the textbook.
yeah, there you go.
I don't think we'll
So
listen.
if I have even, it's white. If I have odd, it's white. If I have even odd or odd even, it's black. Okay? Easy peasy. Let's code that up. All right, guys, a whiteboard, or in your case, if you don't actually need to do it in front of somebody, just a large sheet of blank paper can be super helpful when it comes to thinking through these processes. All right, so first off, we need to pass the cell number into these cells. Now, if we look at these, the other thing we'll notice, every one of these cells is cell 1 something, right?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. All right. So we need to fix the cell IDs.
Mission accomplished.
All right.
We have survived.
So let's pass the row number into. If you look here, guys, in the cell template, I'm passing 1 in for every single. I could just as easily pass bacon in.
How fast are they running for you to pass them?
I don't really get that joke, but so I could pass it. All right, so let's see. Oh, the cell looks like we actually. Oh yeah, we just put 1. We don't even use it. But let's put that in here for the row number. Oops. Row number. All right. This will do half of half of them will be like bacon 1, bacon 2, bacon or whatever. There we go. Cell bacon 2, cell bacon 4. All right. So if I pass instead the actual real row number, then I'll start seeing things that look more appropriate. All right, cell 1, 2. Now that makes sense. But if I look on here, I'm seeing in row 2, okay, I've got the right number. So let's go ahead and fix our other cell right here. Does that make sense? All right, and the reason I do it this way is to make sure, before I go writing a whole bunch of code about comparing the parity of these two things and blah, 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 I want to make sure I'm at least getting the variable passed in properly, okay? Baby steps, guys, all right? Baby shark, baby shark, Oh, man.
Literally everyone in this classroom knows exactly what he's talking about.
Oh, man.
Like you, I would have expected. My mom's a nanny.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
every single person.
Yeah, baby shark. We did.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
Y'all are homeschoolers.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to here and let's see if we can make better decisions about the parity of these cells and what color they need to be. So first off, I need to change this from even to, I need to give it something that refers to this actually the cell that's even, right? Does that make sense? So I'll say something like, is cell even, right? And then I'll get either true or false. All right. Make sure I didn't break nothing. I mean, other than it's broken, the fact didn't break it more, right? So it seems to be working. All right. So is cell even? So now I want another variable is what? Come on, somebody. Is row even? Yep. Is row even? And we'll say that that's true. That'll be our default. All right, and we'll just duplicate that line, and we'll say if the row number mod 2 is 1, then is row even gets false. Make sense? All right, so we're comparing our parity. Now, if the cell is even, and the row is even, then what color should our cell be? White, correct. So here, the cell is even, actually that would be this case, right? I'm doing, well, do I need to do this the hard way first? No, we already talked through the why. Okay, because it's not so much if the cell is even and the row is even, it's what? What do we really want to check?
How many slices of bacon did he eat?
What's that? Are they the same? Are they the same? Okay, sometimes it actually helps, guys, to draw something up that looks like a grid where you've got even, odd, almost like a like the little genome thingies that you did in biology class. Okay, all right. So you've got even is white, right? Odd is white.
Punnett square.
Yeah, odd,
Just
even,
had to do these in biology.
and even odd is black. Okay, just circle those so that we realize they're not.
You know what those are usually called in computer science? Aren't those usually
Punnett
called
square.
truth tables?
Called what?
Truth tables.
Truth tables? Sure.
It's a Punnett square.
I'll take that. I call it a little square dilly thing.
But this
It's a
time
Punnett
is true.
square.
It's real. So
Yeah.
it's true.
So writing it up like this helps you to see the patterns, because especially if there were 3 of them and you're like, oh, when they're all 3 equal, right? It's a little bit harder, But if you draw it up like this on a piece of paper, whiteboard, whatever, then you're like, okay, yeah, even odd or odd even, both those, that's gonna be black. So if my parity matches, either even or odd, we don't really care what it is, right? Then we want it to be white, and if they're different, then we want it to be black. So,
Last one.
what-
Really creeps me out.
what's that?
Looks like a sword or smiley face.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
What is that?
It's like a smiley.
The oh
The O?
It's got 2
It looks
eyes
even
and then
weirder
the
with the
circle
circle.
W is
Oh.
like the mouth area.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and
what is gonna say? What your pen says.
so this is a black cell. Right, yeah. And this is a white cell. So,
These are pretty
Yeah.
big cells. Cells are normally like microscopic.
Oh, you're thinking like, I'm thinking jail cells over here.
jail cells. Well, in that case, it's nice.
In
know,
that
monks-
case, they're really tiny.
Monks have cells in cloisters and monasteries and things like that. They have cells, so that's what they call them. So if the cell is even, is equal to the whether the row is even, right? Then we should have, or sorry, if they're not equal, then we should have a black cell, and if they are equal, we should have a white cell. Let's see. Make sense?
Pepperoni and cheese.
Let's see what we got here. Hey, we got a checkerboard back. Except we have another little bit of a problem here.
White domination.
I think white's gonna win this.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not even a battle.
Yep. So there are some more decisions we need to make about cells, right?
What's a little new pencil?
Yep. So luckily, the white cells are simple. We don't have to think about them too much. Okay. So most of the logic's going to come in here in the case of the black cell. So let's do some more work in here so we can fix our checkers themselves. Okay, but we're making progress, right? All right, we have something that looks like a checkerboard. We have a board HTML that now looks something like, wait for it.
Loading, please wait.
There we go. That, right, there's our board HTML. We don't have a whole bunch of HTML. We've got 3 methods in here. All right. The difficult thing is some of these methods are getting to be a little bit obtuse, right? They're a little hard to reason about, hard to think. They're getting a little complicated. Okay. Well, we'll get this to work, and then we'll think about, is there a better way to do it? Okay. Because we did it the other way. That's one of the nice things about Git. We did it the other way, and we're like, man, this is really repetitive. Okay. We do it this way, and we're like, man, this is kind of complicated. Okay. And so we're kind of looking for the best of both worlds. Okay. But we'll finish going down this road. If we end up deciding, like, man, the complexity is just not worth it, then all we have to do is say, hey, go back to this where we were, and let's use we're happier with repetition than we are with complexity. Yes, ma'am.
I know how we can make it better. Lift the two slices of bacon rule. So
Lift-
it's unlimited bacon.
Unlimited bacon. Yes. Yes. Who has the 2 slices of bacon roll?
All kinds of places.
That
People
is.
like it.
All right. So here we got this.
It's
Let's
not like church.
Let's assign this to an actual variable now, and we'll use a let, and we'll call it s for now. That's fine. Cool. All right. Cell string. All right. So now we need to break these up into a couple of different, because we need to think about this bit right here, right? All right, the rest, this is right everywhere. We're getting those right. We're getting, okay, but we need to think, do we actually need to draw this? So let's go ahead and drop that there. All right. So when do we want these red checkers? When do we want these white checkers or these white checkers to show up? If what? If what?
If it's the first 3 rows.
If it's the first 3 rows.
And only on
Okay.
the black square.
So since you were kind enough to identify that it's the first 3 rows, I will let you help me write the code for that.
Oh, dear.
All right. So what?
I should have kept my mouth shut.
If I'll help you cell string gets cell string plus this. Okay, and on this one, cell string is always going to get this, get close off. Why do I have a simple cell string? All right. First off, let's just make sure that this still works. So I said if true, which meant always. So I said always, basically always put a white. We know that's wrong. Okay, but let's walk through the logic here. So if I have a black cell, right, then I want to start out with the code that gives me a black cell, right? And if something, then I want to add a white checker. And then I want to close off the cell. Okay? What's the something? You said it in English. When do I want to put a white checker there? In the first 3 rows? Okay, now specify that mathematically. If what? If what variable, some condition, some value. What's the variable that lets us know what?
I don't speak computer.
Well, you do. You're writing. Okay. What's the variable that lets us know which row number we're on? In row num. There you go. There you go. Row num. Yeah. If the row num is what?
3 or less.
3 or less. Yeah. Less than or equal to 3. So if row num is less than or equal to 3. Let's save that. See what we got. Boom. Good job. High five. All right. You got it. Now, black cells. We need some black cells. All right. We can put it right in the same spot here, right? Else, if true, and here's the code for black checker. All right, look okay? This looks like it's gonna be a boring game. All right, so we just put if true there. So basically, if it puts, if there's not a white checker, put a black checker. So that's obviously not what we're looking for. When should we put a black checker?
On the bottom 3 rows, on the black square.
Specify it in computerese.
On like row 6, 7, 8.
But she specified it here. Help me get this.
Which row are you changing? Sorry.
I'm trying to get this, replace this true with something. Here she says if row number is less than or equal to 3, then put a white checker.
So it would be equal to or greater than.
If what?
6. If the row number is.
If the
equal
row
to or
number
greater than 6.
is greater than or equal to 6. Refresh it. Boom. There we go. We got 2 blank spaces in the middle. We have a checkerboard again.
Oh, cool.
All right. And it doesn't do anything when I click on it anymore. Probably I'm missing some class or something. Wonder if these guys do something. They don't. So we'll have
They're
to.
all bark and no bite.
They're all bark and no bite. We'll have to add our add that back in there. So let's see. Board.html, board.js would say. So let's switch color, which is called by toggle. Let checker. Oh, are we even calling board.js? I wonder.
I don't know, just pick a number.
Black.cell. Oh, here's the problem. So this will happen sometimes when you use refactor, when you let the IDE refactor things. So this is saying if I have an object with the class of black and the class of cell template, which nothing has a class of black and a class of cell template. I have a class of cell and class of cell template. Remember I changed that function name from cell to cell template earlier? Well, it got a little overzealous and it found this usage of cell right here and said, hey, let's call that cell template too. Okay? So that will sometimes happen, especially when you're doing when you do a refactor in a loosely typed language like JavaScript. Okay, it will be, there we go, and now we have our behavior back. That one doesn't exist. That does. So we'll have to take a look and see why those are not there. Probably because we don't have.
We're all running wind.
Oh, yeah. That's because we don't have a checker in there. There's no checkers in those ones. So because the way we did our if statement, look, none of these cells have checkers in them. So if you look, these ones have a checker of class red checker, or if I click on it, it might actually get hidden. So let me find which one that one is. That's in this row. That cell, right? So I have this checker in there, but these guys, they don't have checkers in them at all. They're totally empty. Okay, so let's go back to our template.js.
They're lonely, they need a checker.
So we need another else. So we've checked to see if we're in the first 3 rows or the last 3 rows. So now the only thing that's left is we're in the middle 2 rows. And what do we need to do if we're in the middle 2 rows? What do we need to do?
We need to put hidden checkers.
Yep, hidden checkers. Yep.
But both of them need to be hidden at the
I
start.
think, did we just call it, did we just say hidden? I don't think we did. I think we actually set the, you had to use the style attribute so that, but we'll take a look and see. I think we had to use the style attribute and say display none instead of just saying hidden.
You know, it's kind
Nope.
It's kind of weird that the board is
Seems to work.
hiding so many checkers.
It
It's
is.
hiding things for us.
It is hiding checkers. All right, so there you go. So that's working now. Okay, so so we needed to add invisible checkers to those middle 2 rows.
That's rather unfair for
So-
the white.
Hmm?
No, it's rather unfair for the white type.
Yeah. That's true. We'll add some white pieces. There we go. Now nobody can play checkers. All right, but it is fair. We can fairly not play. So I think we're back to the point where we were before. Okay. Now what we have is we've taken all of that code, all that repetitious code that, I mean, you saw me scrolling through it to delete it. I mean, there was a bunch of it, okay? And we've condensed it down into 40 lines of code. But that 40 lines is a little bit dense, okay? So I think in next class what we'll do is we'll try to make it a little clearer what it does. And then there's another maybe model is the best way to think of it, that we'll take a look at for how to solve this same problem. That might be a good balance between the two. Okay, so but there's a lot we can do by breaking this cell up, or this logic up, into different places, so that it's a little clearer what's happening. And to be honest, row template and board template are fine. I mean, they're really straightforward. Hey, give me 8 rows. Give me 8 cells. Okay, they're pretty straightforward. Okay, it's cell template that's just a little bit like, if you were to look at that and I was like, hey guys, explain this to me, it would be a little difficult, huh? Okay, I mean, you guys can kind of walk through and understand it because we've walked through it, but it's, the logic in there gets a little bit complex. Okay, all right. Well, we will talk about that in class on Thursday. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, or should you not, it's still your mission, is to complete what we've done and get that pushed up to your Git repository by Thursday. So you should have no HTML. All right, this is what I want to see in your board. HTML should look something like this. Okay, right? It should be very.
But I'm pretty sure that the checkers wouldn't work at all.
Minimalist is the way to say. The other thing we can do, just to make this a little more better, is get rid of this script and just drop it in board.js on the document.ready method. We could do it here. So here's where we add everything to the board container, and then here's where we add the toggle listeners, the click listeners.
Toggle. You gotta
So-
shake those pieces.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and make sure that we didn't break anything with that last little bit. We are running short on class time. Okay, I was about to say, looks like we broke something.
That's a big
Now you
deal.
can, there you go. Yep, cool. All right. So that's a little bit more better. So there you go. That's what your board, I'd like your board HTML to look something like this. Okay? And that's pretty straightforward, huh? Cool beans? All right.
Cool beans.
See
I
y'all
prefer
on
hot
Thursday.
beans, but
Hot beans?
I also like cool beans.
I make hot beans. I make some pretty awesome beans. I don't make much food. Well,
That's cool.
But
Or
I
is
make-
that hot?
it is hot. Yeah. But I make beans well. So maybe one of these days I'll grace you guys with some beans. Mmm. Who doesn't want to have a bunch of beans for lunch?
I'd rather have besides
Jelly
beans.
Bacon? Well, I could put bacon in the
With
beans.
bacon in the beans.
They could be bacon beans, not baked
They
beans.
could be jelly beans.
Bacon beans.
They could be
Jelly beans are awesome. All right.
That would be-
Wait, bacon.
You
in
guys
the
ever eat
beans.
the Birdie Bots every flavor beans?
What?
Birdie Bots every flavor beans? Never from Harry Potter?
Wait, you'll never-
They've got like,
Wait, these are homeschoolers. They may not
Sorry.
all watch Harry Potter.
you may not have all watched Harry Potter, but
How many of y'all have seen Harry Potter?
I've seen
How many of y'all
some,
Okay.
have not seen Harry Potter?
So-
Maybe that's a better question.
In-
yeah,
so
there it is.
in Harry Potter, one of the little wizard candies that they have are called Birdie Bots every flavor beans. You can actually buy them.
oh, really?
Yeah, you can order them.
Oh, I know
They're-
these
they
are.
They are worth ordering because when they say every flavor, they literally mean every flavor.
Yeah.
So they have like a grass flavor, they have a earwax flavor, but they also have like blueberry and strawberry and grape and all the normal flavors, root beer. But then they'll have like vomit, and like rotten fish, So it's getting a batch of Birdie Bots is can be adventurous.
Maybe I should
Yeah.
bring some of that. I actually have some of those.
And there's a game called Bean Boozled.
That's what I have.
Yeah, Bean Boozled does the same thing, but they take two beans that look exactly alike, but it'll be like
That is
it'll be like
cruelty.
peach.
That is
Yeah, it's
pure cruelty.
yeah. There's a wheel. There's like a wheel, and they're all like each wedge has like a bunch like 20 beans in it, and half of them are peach and half of them are vomit, or half of them are like tutti frutti and half of them are rotten fish, and you're like. You might be like, this is great. So the game is like you're supposed to spin a little thing and it tells you which one to pick, and then you're supposed to like eat it. But
Oh man.
to be honest, like you really have to play that game with a cup, like you just because you're like you start chewing and then you're like and you otherwise
No. You have to finish. You
yeah
have to
otherwise something else might come up in the cup. So wow, I'm still recording all of this. All right, guys, go
Oh,
home.
yay.
Don't even douche yourself.
Go home and tell your parents not to watch the last 5 minutes of this. See?